Hey guys, Tyler2K here. Today we're going to do a follow-up on the Lili trailer. Once again, this is an unreleased product, so anything that might be shown in this video can change by the final release date. Also, I already made the quick, like 2 or so minute breakdown of Lili, so if you have like no time, you don't want to hear me talk about it, just check out the original one, where it's very brief, but I like these videos because it allows us to kind of deep dive into what the character could become and what they, I haven't talked about for the sake of time, and the fact also that overall it's just speculation. So as usual, this is speculation, but yeah, let's go ahead and more cover in-depth things that both, like I said, I purposely skipped and accidentally skipped. So yeah, and this is a great one to start with. So when I was making the video initially, I called this a left-right kick, or 3-4 maybe, I can't remember exact verbiage. But basically, it's because there is no actual indication as to what this input is. So let me go ahead and just play it really fast. So it's like an advancing, jumping 3 and then a 4. So what this actually reminds me of is Eliza's 4-4-3-4. Eliza and Lili, Eliza was like Lili's captive, held under her castle or something like that. Some, normal FGC storyline crap, but basically, yeah, the two of them have kind of similar moves, not really, but overall you can sense that there is some bleed over between the two. So I believe that this is actually the first sense of bleed over. So in the video, they've already shown 4-4-3-4, sorry, 4-4-3. So for Eliza, she has 4-4-3 and 4-4-3-4. I guess this is a good time to do an overlay. Insert footage here. But basically, yeah, she has a mid-high and then a mid-mid option. The mid-mid doesn't launch unless you have meter or in certain body types. But overall, yeah, this move like really reminds me of it. But as mentioned, because they show 4-4-3 later in the video, it's not as simple as just 4-4-3-4. So, other thing of note is that the input itself doesn't really look like it's coming out of glide. So moon glide 3-4, same thing with Eliza. This move, instead of 4-4-3, can come out of moon glide. So I don't think this is a glide or do glide input, it's called technically for her. I think this is a special input. Specifically, I'm inclined to believe this is actually her new running 3-4. So they got rid of her generic running 3. So okay, story time. I might as well do this because I think I have 5 installed on my PS3 anyway. So when the game first came out, so male characters and female characters were separated from a couple of like really key generic attacks. Running inputs were actually like the major defining features. So typically female characters were more slippery and evasive and just trickier characters in general, but usually they did less damage than their male counterparts, whereas a male character typically wasn't really a tricky character, not hyper evasive, so on and so forth. One of the differences was the running game. So slash kick for male characters was typically generic, and back then it was like a completely different chestnut. It was like plus 19G versus nowadays it's like a clean plus 9. But yeah, it was a completely different thing. Fast forward to T6, then they gave it to Zafina and Leo, who at that time was a female character. And then, yeah, they slowly started transitioning. So by the time of Tekken Tag 2 and T7, basically all the female characters have a non-generic running 3 now, except for Anna. Anna, for some reason, has the old generic running 3, even though when you compare her running 3, insert footage here, to Nina's running 3, Nina's running 3 used to be a grab. And Anna has the same animation, but she doesn't grab you, so it's kind of weird. So yeah, I believe this to be the first inclination of running 3. So basically, what this means is in T8, they've changed the input. So instead of forward, hold, it's now basically forward, hold. So in order to get an instant running state, it's a lot easier in T8. So I think this is basically a running 3-4, or possibly a different input. I'll talk about it later. But this one specifically, unless they've made it such that it's like some weird input like forward, a 4-3 or something strange. Yeah, I'm inclined to believe this is running 3-4. Okay, so quick note. We do see the movement lines here, the speed lines as you want to call them. So yeah, I believe speed lines, this video confirms it, that speed lines means the attack is basically low crushing. So this attack here specifically on continuation is a low crushing attack. So obviously we have chip, we have heat engager, we have homing, and we have speed lines for low crush. So I think when the animation is fairly muted, the speed lines are there to indicate that this is a low crush. So I can't really think of an example off the top of my head, but there are like certain fighting games that do have special indicators. Usually in like 2D games, if it's like really dirty, the input they'll usually probably like a little exclamation point to tell you it's a low or a high. This is basically Tekken's version of telling you it's a low or a high sort of thing. So this is a new mechanic or a new addition to the game. I mean, you can see, like I said, all the clutter here, right? We have 4 things going on at the same time, apart from the animation. So it's like, okay, but whatever. I understand adding speed lines to make it more, easier to understand what exactly is going on. Oh, one side note here. So this Panda character, when they showed off the Panda, it existed on the on Xiaoyu's trailer. So people are like, oh, there's Panda, Panda's in the game, LOL sort of thing. But in the subsequent trailers that came out after it, the Panda was actually gone. And it was replaced with like a king head or something like that. There's like a king performer. So I don't know if the background changes depending on the character or depending on the time of day, like when you're fighting, quote unquote, or exactly what. Because obviously we've seen the nighttime stage, which might be like the final round version of the stage, but who knows? Maybe it's like G Corp where there's an actual explicit night and explicit daytime, but who knows? But yeah, I think that's interesting that the Panda is here. Okay, pushes in. Yeah, so I am inclined to believe, and I did say it in the video, that this input actually is 1-1. I didn't make a mention of it, but this style input looks very similar to Sebastian, and maybe Lili had it back in the day. Sebastian had a back 2-1. Okay, maybe Lili has it too. But yeah, this is like a move that kind of was changed around. But I'll go ahead. I did record the footage of it, but I never talked about it. But yeah, this input looks like I said, it's either back 2 or... Yeah, it's kind of weird that, in case you guys didn't notice what it looks like in slow motion, it looks ridiculous in slow motion. So she jabs, feigns, and then she does a back elbow strike. Yeah, it looks ridiculous. Oh, he let go. See, there you go. Non-jailing. Yeah, so this is something that Namco, it has different. Actually, they changed it in SF6. So SF6 has this proximity guard. So your character will, back in the day, if your opponent would like whiff on your face, even if you didn't have to guard it, the game would guard for you. So you couldn't move out of the way. Tekken kind of did something similar by speeding up the natural hold back input, like the back walk, it's called. But yeah, this reminds me of it, of like, but yeah, in Street Fighter 6, proximity guard is gone, which is a great change. I don't play Street Fighter really, but yeah, it sort of reminds me of it. But the input looks pretty silly. And then of course she follows up with a 3. So this 3 attack looks very similar, like I was mentioning, to Eliza 4433. So Eliza 4434 is the instant spin launcher. When she does the 3-3, the mid version, it's this style kick. So, of course, we see Leroy get, like, knocked to the ground. But I didn't actually do the frame, but I did notice... So, like, Lili's recovered here, right? So, I think she's already recovered. But for context... Oh, yeah, so she's already recovered here. So, during this state, for context, all all heat burst attacks take 15 frames. That's something we figured out. From all the videos so far. Heat burst basically takes 15 frames. So by this frame, she's already recovered. So let's just call this frame 0, right? Or frame 1, why not? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think Rage Burst will hit here, or Heat Burst. Sorry. So, kind of similar to Eliza, if you have meter, you can continue off of this combo. So Heat Burst, once again, is like the instant bound system to continue combos. We really haven't seen it apart from, well, actually, they haven't even shown it yet. So basically, low parry, you can't do a spin with a low parry anymore, which is a great change. But you can do a Heat Burst to do a bound and continue the combo. And similar to the maximizing wall damage in T8 video, top right corner, yeah, Heat Burst, aka bound, doesn't affect your combo structure in any way, shape, or form. So when you're at the wall, it doesn't need a wall hit because your opponent basically comes from an overhead and pushes them into the ground. So the wall's not even calculated in the hit at all. Now, granted, open field, I believe it still counts as an additional hit. So technically open field, it probably will negatively affect your combo structure a little bit. But yeah, it doesn't cost you spin or Heat Burst or any of that, or not Heat Burst, sorry, Heat Dash, blah, 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 blah. All the new T8 mechanics. So I'm very confident after this counter hit 3 is she can do a Heat Burst and do a full combo afterwards. So that means because she hasn't used spin in this combo, she can pop Heat Burst, then do a spin option, and then continue the combo. And as we'll see later in the video, Lili has like really crazy wall carry, like really far wall carry, which is nuts. Okay, so she follows up with Root of Evil. Nothing really special here to note, so. Oh, okay, yeah, so here. Like I said, this looks like a very deliberate sidestep 4 input. It might not be a sidestep 4. The good news is Lili currently doesn't have a sidestep 4. But this animation itself, like I mentioned in the comment to reply to someone, looks very similar to Brian QCF4. So same thing. He does like a knee into a straight kick, and then he does like the follow-up 2 or whatever, the follow-up punch that you can cancel it. So that might be the end of the string. Obviously here she's in back turn, so she evades the incoming back 1 with Leroy, and then goes for Feisty Rabbit 3, which I'll just call Rabbit 3. As mentioned, which I didn't mention in the video, I should have. I didn't realize so many people would call me out on it, but yeah, I figured it's very clearly homing, so I didn't mention it. But yeah, this is a homing attack. Although Feisty Rabbit 3 in T8 obviously no longer causes a knockdown state, and not until later in the video where I call it like an EX Feisty or Rabbit 3, aka a Heat Rabbit 3, does it become a knockdown. Okay, so plus frames, I don't know the exact frame data, but it looks like at least a clean +4, +5. And then obviously Lili follows up here with full crouch down forward 1, which is very strong. For people who don't know, her full crouch mix-up game is actually pretty good. She has the counter hit slide. She has this knockdown counter hit tool where you get a follow-up hit, and it's just wall stand 2. So if you predict which way the opponent's going to move, like for instance, like you're playing offline, and the opponent is forced to only be able to sidestep one direction, yeah, you can pop like wall stand 2 and beat him in this position or whatnot. Side note here, so when the trailer first came out, like the very first trailer, I was like, this picture was very, very, very far away, and I'm like, man, that looks like Ogre. Like it looks like Ancient Ogre. So we had like a small picture and it was blowing up. I'm like, man, that looks like Ancient Ogre. So like there's the eye, his chin, the body, right? He's his headdress. But no, this is a jazz position or musician. It says like MC Jazz or something like that. So yeah, that's the reason I never made that video either when it first came out, because there's super obvious things like, oh, Smith Coffee. Oh, there's Leroy in the background. Bob Burger, reference to Bob. Bobby's Burgers is like a chain for Bobby Flay. But same color scheme, although he's called Bobby's Burger Palace, I think. But yeah, I was going to make that video, but I didn't do it. But yeah, I guess that's a side note, but let's get back to the important stuff. Oh yeah, also this is called Mark Airlines. I presume after Mark Man, but you never know. Okay, so she gets the knockdown. And now she follows up the 442, which I mentioned rather, that this no longer has Power Crush properties. So yeah, this is probably just a natural launcher, maybe safer on block now, but I don't know for a fact. But when Leroy gets hit, not only do we get the slide away animation that I talk about frequently, we also see Leroy just spin. And I don't remember seeing the spin. I remember just seeing the slide away. So they might have, this might be a newer patch where they made the animation a little bit more realistic by causing a spin before the slide. But I thought that was interesting, that this is a new animation, although we get the slide away push. So it's not like the long distance slide away, and it's not the short distance slide away. This one, I presume, can be heating, heat burst or whatever, heat drive or heat dash. God, there's so many terminology. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm inclined to believe this one, like 442, might be a heat engager, and also could be, as such, heat dash cancel. But yeah, I just noticed the spin. The spin was very weird, although I didn't mention it in the trailer. Okay, hop kick out. We see the counter hit marker. I'm not going to read too much into it. It's probably just a hop kick. Okay, back turn option. And then we see the back turn 1-2. Again, we see this uppercut animation. If this is a mid or a high, I guess statistically so far, this follow-up spin option has been shown to be a mid, but who knows? Like, look how high she is when she does it. I mean, right? All the characters, they do these super high uppercuts. So if they are mids, I don't know. It seems very suspect. Okay, and ends with a down 2-2-3. Nothing special here. Nothing new. Maybe they meant to show something out of curiosity. No, I'm not seeing shit. Just Violet Systems. There you go. Memphis Jazz Club. So we see the back one. And I believe this to be Do Glide 1+2. So now that it's coming out of essentially Do Glide, because back one leads to Do Glide. Like I said, I'm presuming this to be Do Glide 1+2 simply because later in the video they show Do Glide 2-1. So it would make sense that this is now 1+2 with a Power Crush built into it with a special property, that versus them changing a currently Do Glide 2-1 move, right? Just like bringing an old move back. But okay, Wall Stand 3. So just like other single hit launchers that we've seen in other videos, really yet to be seen if Wall Stand 3, which kind of acts as like a Dragon Punch, will actually be an instant spin or not. So like Wall Stand 3, for instance, with what is she called? Asuka, like very highly evasive. Lili's also very highly evasive. So it'd be interesting to see if on a standing launcher, if this also causes instant spin, because so far what they've shown, and they show it later in this video with Down 4, is yeah, these moves that seem to be like well, I'd call this, I guess, high risk, even though it's very hard to punish. High risk, high reward, have been getting nerfed by them adding instant spin instead of it being a normal launcher. So I just think this is interesting that they show the spin. So same thing, you can't read too much into it, but at the same time, it is something of note that they might actually nerf her Wall Stand 3 in this way. Okay, and then she ends with up forward 4-3, which, yeah, I don't understand. You get the slight slide away, and notice how Leroy didn't flip over. The two of them interact. Down forward 1 option. Deep sidestep. Obviously, okay, so this is something I didn't mention. Yeah, so we see the new 4-forward 1 Whiff animation, which was shown off on Twitter when someone was like, hey, they should add Whiff animations. And then people are like, no, don't add Whiff animations. And like, it's funny. Literally the first move they show on a Whiff animation is Asuka, right? It's like, okay. But yeah, this is a new animation. I didn't bring it up because it's not an Asuka video, really. It's a Lili video. Okay, so we see the down 4 hit back turn. Mid spin, Asuka gets realigned. I don't believe this to be an accident. I think this is because now that you have these single hit spin options, it would suck that you basically get penalized for using a high risk, high reward move or high risk, medium reward move. And then you can't even like full launch the opponent, right? Imagine you deep step, you make the perfect read, you get a launcher, and then like you get no damage after, right? Yeah, I think Namco's on the right track by making these instant spins realign. So I showed that in the trailer video, how Sebastian or just generically Lili Down 4 just doesn't realign unless you're on axis. So it's something big of note. Pops the heat burst, 15 frames, 2 frames of animation on the end. So it's a 13 frame lead up into a 2 frame hit. Down 4 3+4. And then, yeah, this is the biggest controversy, I think. I specifically didn't call it a second heat burst, but if you look at the speed of animation, So this is like animation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So basically like a 9 or 10 frame blow launcher. Now granted, we might not be on 60 FPS, but it's really fast. So if it's not 10, yeah, it's like less than 20. So yeah, this probably is aka a rage drive, aka a heat smash from Backturn, which means Lili's the first character with 2 confirmed heat smashes. So I believe that to be the case. Obviously, this move is very similar to Xiaoyu Ardius down 4, 3+4, which is her rage drive. So no coincidence. Although it's weird to see that like Xiaoyu lost hers and Lili got it instead. Okay, she does the attack and then does the final hit. Notice a couple things here. First of all, Lili's in back turn. Second of all, Asuka is like spinning, so it might guarantee like BT down 3-4 maybe if you're by the wall. Probably not, but who knows for a fact? No one knows for certain. And then the biggest indicator is that yeah, when she's going from white to clear, which means she lost her heat. Big caveat here. When you do special attacks, and Lili might have special heat attacks, like for instance, later we see the teleporting like Feisty Rabbit where she does it multiple in a row. That probably cost meter. So if you do a special powered up hit and you have no heat like mode left, yeah, it's going to cost you heat. In this context though, yeah, she does a heat smash. She hasn't done anything. She follows up with down 4, 3+4, which probably has no heat properties, and then does a heat smash. So yeah, this for sure is a heat smash. But for other reference, like I said, keep in mind, stuff cost meter. Once you're in heat mode, it's not an all or nothing. You can do things that cost meter mid-combo. Just keep that in mind for future reference. So we see the Feisty Rabbit 2, heat engager option. I think this is going to be very similar to Asuka's sidestep 2 that we had seen in Asuka's video, where because it's a heat engager, that means that Feisty Rabbit 2 can be heat dash canceled, which means Feisty Rabbit 2, when you are, heat's already popped, will mean it's a launcher. And then second of all, almost certainly Feisty Rabbit 2 will be a wall splat. So let's say you're Lili and your heat has already extinguished or elapsed on time. Yeah, heat Feisty 2 probably is going to be a knockdown. So it's going to be very similar to Asuka of sidestep 2, and at the same time will be, I guess, nearly analogous. Okay, so here we go. We have the forward-facing heat burst, or heat smash, sorry. Then we see, again, the flash kick kind of ender. And very similar, the initial attack looked like it came off of like running 3-4. So we see that same animation, although this is a heat smash version. So I don't know if this is just like a Hwoarang, a 4-3-4 Hunting Hawk Rage Drive. Insert footage here where he gets like an extended combo version off of it. Or if this is just a solo heat smash input. No way for us to know for a fact. We'll know once we get more information. And same thing, back turn. Lili's left back turn. Okay, wall stand 3, probably still -16 because they're showing off Lili 3-1, but who knows? Maybe it'll be back to -17 again. That would be great. Okay, does a 4-4-3, which gets blocked, hence. Oh, okay. So we get the double Feisty, and let me go ahead and do something I was going to talk about, but I didn't talk about, and that is the sound. So you hear the sound there. So my guess is every time she pops Feisty Rabbit in this state, I don't know if she'll be necessarily invulnerable or just hyper evasive. Obviously, in this context, she does 2 Feisty Rabbits in a row, which is significant. She does it significantly quicker than you could do it as like a human. And the reason is Feisty Rabbit is either back 3 or back 4. So if you tap back 3, the game will actually option select to Feisty Rabbit 3. So my guess is when she does this animation, she's actually pressing and or holding the input. So she does back 3, hold, and she holds it for, 2 hits basically off her Feisty Rabbit. and then she does Feisty Rabbit 3. That's the thing that makes the most sense. Is yeah, she's either holding back or holding the 3, and then lets go and or taps the input. So yeah, my prediction is that this is actually her activating her heat mode, which is just hyper evasive Feisty Rabbit plus a charged Feisty Rabbit. In this case, we see Feisty Rabbit 3, which is now a knockdown, guaranteeing follow-up. Also notice Asuka is like on the ground. So yeah, there's no continuation combo here, apart from the new steel pedal attack, which is presumably up back 3. A big addition to Lili's game, because as it stands, as we had seen earlier in the video, she really has nothing great to hit grounded. Root of Evil's good, and she has some like flinch catching down forward 4 ideas, but overall, steel pedal is such a ridiculous mechanic. So yeah, I understand that they gave it to Lili too. So okay, 443, no longer a natural hit launcher. Now we see Do Glide 2-1, which obviously is now a heat engager, and because Lili here already has heat mode as signified by the white sparks or white dust, whatever you want to call it, is able to heat dash it. So she heat dashes the option, Do Glide 2-1, down for 2 into BT, and now we see the spinning 3 kick off BT, which is probably just 3-4, as I mentioned. And yeah, I didn't add this, but yeah, this is Sebastian's move. So it's basically like a bounding kick, and you know, bound is not like the best word in this context. But yeah, it's a jumping a kick, like, you know, advancing a kick. But yeah, this is definitely Sebastian's style attack. Although we don't see her have like Sebastian's wall stand 3. Into back 1, into Do Glide 1, and now with a 4 extension at the end. So I don't know if that means that Do Glide 1-2 is gone. But Do Glide, you know, this 4-4 3+4 input or 1-2-4 input, yeah, is basically weak to sidestep right. But yeah, I don't know if that means, like I said, they got rid of QCF 1-2 or like gliding 1-2. So hard to say, too hard to speculate. But yeah, that's obviously a new attack. But yeah, overall, so Asuka is basically left over there, and the combo started on the other side of the octagon here. So yeah, in context, like look at the carry. Like these overall, T8 has bigger stages, which is a good thing. But yeah, look how far like Asuka is like left. It's like incredibly far away. Granted, you know, Lili wouldn't get a combo here, but yeah, Lili with this one combo has essentially carried Asuka like 75% of the entire stage, which is crazy. So yeah, and they look at how far the center octagon is from the wall too, for context, right? So good. Okay, yeah, I talked about this. Down back 3 no longer causes instant spin. It's now basically a crumple stun launcher. It looks very similar to Asuka's 1+3 parry nowadays. I don't believe that to be a coincidence because the attack animation is kind of similar, but it's interesting that they changed this. So yeah, that's about it. Not much else to talk about here with Lili. Questions, comments, concerns, feel free to hit me up in the comments. YouTube, Reddit, Twitch, Twitter. Yeah, hopefully, I mean, honestly, to be, like I said, fully honest here, I really want to see a new character. I don't know when we're going to see a new one, but the fact that we're now, like, I think 13 or 14 original characters deep, and from typically how Namco has done things, there will be at least 2 new characters at the bare minimum, likely to be 4 characters on release, 4 to 6. Yeah, I mean, we're still, like, we're starting to get up there in numbers, and not having seen a single new character, I honestly, it's kind of like, it's a little bit worrying. Now, granted, they are going ground up here, but still, they need to show off someone new. I mean, it's fine showing off, you know, older characters in new ways, but yeah, I don't know. We need to see someone new. Like I said, I think we're at the point where, you know, we're 14 characters deep. We need someone new to help balance things out, bring a little bit more excitement. But I guess at the same time, these trailers are just building more and more excitement, even though we still don't have like an official release date. So I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one, but okay. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys have a great night. Later on.